Hello guys, this is Atharo Kulkarni and I am your Gyani buddy for today. So today I'll be covering about process scheduling algorithms. I know it's been a long time since I haven't made a video on operating system. Sorry guys, but we'll continue this series of operating system from process scheduling. And if you haven't watched the previous video, I highly recommend you to watch the previous video as the knowledge about some of the topics is required for process scheduling. So without wasting any further time, let's quickly begin. So first of all, I'd like to introduce to you about the term process scheduling. So term process scheduling, and yes, before I begin, I highly recommend you to take a copy along with you, so has to make proper notes because I'm going to make dynamic notes. So okay, so let's start. So first of all, process scheduling. Now we saw in the previous video about process states. Now every process is in a particular state, say ready state, running state, waiting state. Now a question arises: how does the CPU choose the process? Now this criteria for choosing of the process is decided by this process scheduling. So I write here process scheduling. It is a it is a criteria for choosing choosing a process from all available processes by CPU. Now you can see there are four important scheduling algorithms. First is FCFS, second is SJF, shortest job first, third is priority scheduling, fourth is round robin. Now in this video I am going to cover about FCFS scheduling algorithm. So right here FCFS. Now first important point about FCFS is that it is simple to implement. It is the simplest scheduling algorithm. Second point, there is a golden rule: out of all available processes, we choose that process which has the shortest arrival time. So I'll just write shortest arrival time, write the complete sentence. And third point is that it is always non-preemptive. Now many of you are wondering what is non-preemptive. So I'll explain this non-preemptive term when I explain you with the help of an example, so that you remember it for a longer period of time. So this is the theoretical part. Now I will jump over to a quick example which will make you understand. So I'll take an example. I'll make 3, 4, 5 columns. First will contain the process ID. Second will contain the arrival time. Now what is arrival time? The time at which the process enters the running queue is termed as the arrival time. Next is the BT. BT stands for burst time. So the time for which the CPU is used by the process is termed as the burst time. And completion time. And last is the turnaround time. Sorry for the bad handwriting, I'm using it for the first time, so please excuse me. And last is the waiting time. Okay, so I write the processes P1, 2. You write P1, P2. I'll write just 2, 3, the numbers, 4, 5. Okay, and the arrival time. So I'll write down the arrival time. Okay, arrival time 6, 2. Next is 3. Okay, 1, 4, and one more process 5. And the burst time, you write 4, 5, 3, then 1, 2 and 6. Okay. Now in exam the question will be asked, this data will be provided to you, process ID, arrival time, algorithm will be provided to you, and they may ask you average turnaround, average waiting time as per the question. So first step we have to do is draw a Gantt chart. Now Gantt chart is just a diagrammatic representation so that the computations become easy. So this is 0 time interval. Okay, now let us look at this chart table. So we can see here that at time interval 0 there is no process which is available, so we will leave this space from 0 to 1 as empty. I'll just shade it. This is void space. Now at time interval 1 we just have one process, so we don't have a lot of options, so we need to choose this process P4. Now this is non-preemptive, as I told you earlier, so it will run completely and it will utilize one time unit, as its burst time is 1, so it will run from 1 to 2. So this will be P4. Right, this will be P4. Now after you have done, just strike out so that it becomes easy for you. Okay, now P4 is done. Now at time interval 2 we can see there is only one process, which is P2. So P2, right, P2. Okay, now for P2 burst time is 5, so 2 to 5, 2 plus 5 is 7. So again strike it. Now this will help you in avoiding confusion later, so I am doing this thing. You also do this thing in exam, it will be helpful. Now at time interval 7 there are 4 processes which are there in the ready queue: P3, P5, P6 and P1. Now here the rule applies. So out of all the available processes, choose the process which has the shortest arrival time. Which has the shortest? It is 3. So I'll choose P3 and it will run for a burst time of 3 units. So P3 and it will run for 3 units. So 7 plus 3, 10. Okay, I will strike it 3. Now which process you should choose? Yeah, it will be P5. So P5 with and burst time is 2. Okay, so P5. Okay, and this is 10 plus 2, 12, right? So it will be striked off. Now we have only 2 processes. Okay, P6. So P6 again, it burst time is 6. P6 burst time is 6. So 18. 12 plus 6, 18, right? And last is P1. So its burst time is 4. Okay. So P1, right? And burst time 4. So 22. 18 plus 4, 22. Okay, now completion time. Now this completion time can be calculated from the figure. Let's see for P1. Now P1 has arrived at 18, right, and is there at 22. So final is 22. So completion time will be 22. Then for process P2, it is at 7. You just take a look at the upper limit. Now here upper limit is 7 for P2 from the Gantt chart. So 7. For P3, where is P3? It's here, and upper limit is 10. So write 10. Right. Then P4, where is P4? Here, yeah. So 2. Then P5, where is P5? Here, yes, 12. And finally P6 is remaining, so 18. So I hope you got this, guys. It's very easy to calculate with the help of Gantt chart. Completion time 18, right? So I just verify. P1 ends at 22, P2 ends at 7, P3 ends at 10, P4 ends at 2, right? P5 ends at 12, P6 ends at 18. Now turnaround time. Turnaround time has a formula. I cannot write here, so you write in your copy. Turnaround time is basically completion time minus arrival time. So 22 minus 6, 16. 7 minus 2, 5. 10 minus 3, oh sorry, it's 7. Okay, 2 minus 1, it's 1. 1 minus 4, it's 8. And 18 minus 5, it's 13. And then waiting time. For waiting time, formula is turnaround time minus burst time. So 16 minus 4, it's 12. 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 3 is 4. 1 minus 1 is 0. 8 minus 2 is 6. 13 minus 6 is 7. Right? Now we have to calculate the average turnaround time and well as the average waiting time. So just do the average. I'll do it orally. 16 plus 5 is 21. 21 plus 7, 28. 28, 29, 37. And 37 and 13 is 50. So 50 divided by 6. How much it is? 8.3 something. And average waiting time 12 plus 4, 16. 16 plus 6, 22, 29. 29 by 6. So it's something 6 24. And 50, 6 8s are 48. So 4.8. So this is all about FCFS. I hope you got this, and I recommend you to solve many more examples on FCFS so that you get a clear idea. And let's jump now to the advantages of FCFS as well as the disadvantages. Okay, all right. So first let's start with the advantages. So the first advantage is that it is simple to implement. Second, it is easy to understand. So these are only the advantages of your FCFS. And now the major part, which is the disadvantages. So there is a term which is involved in this disadvantage. I'll write first the term, then explain to you. Convoy effect. Now this scheduling algorithm suffers from convoy effect. Now to explain to you about convoy effect, now all of you must have visited your school canteen. Now let's say you are waiting in a queue in the canteen and there is a fat person in front of you who is taking all the food which is present there, and you are frustrated. You are waiting in the queue for a long time, but you are not getting a chance. You have to wait till that person has finished taking the food. This situation is termed as convoy effect in case of these processes. So in terms of processes, a process having a larger burst time takes a longer amount of time as compared to a process having a shortest burst time. So there are, let's say there are three processes, P1, P2, P3. First process has arrival time 0 and it has a burst time 50 milliseconds. The other two have arrival time 1, 2 respectively, and with burst times smaller, say 2 and 3 milliseconds. But these P1 and P2 processes have to wait for P0 to complete its execution and for 50 milliseconds. So this leads to starvation of the two processes P1 and P2. Right? Now this starvation can be avoided by the later algorithms which I'll teach you in the next videos, which is shortest job first. So I hope that you guys have got this FCFS scheduling algorithm and do practice the questions related to FCFS scheduling algorithm. I'll be back soon with the next video, which is shortest job first algorithm. And do those three magical things: like, share, subscribe, because if you don't do these things, then I cannot receive your support, right? And if you don't give me support, then how can I make such good videos? So yes, so that's all from my side. Thank you.